In this video, we are going to be taking a look at how you find part of a group, and the essential question that we are going to be unlocking is how can you find a fractional part of a group. Now you will need to turn to page 291 in your Go Math books. And let's unlock this problem on page 291, and I want you to follow along as I read the problem aloud. So it says, Maya collects stamps. She has 20 stamps in her collection. 4/5 of her stamps have been canceled. How many of the stamps in Maya's collection have been canceled? Okay, so there's a couple things that we need to do. We need to understand, first of all, think about what we know, what we're trying to find. We know that 4/5 of the stamps have been canceled. There's 20 total stamps. Okay, so what we need to do first of all is we need to think about how many groups we need to divide our 20 into, and also how many per group. Okay, so we're going to divide our 20 into 5 different groups. Why are we choosing 5? Because 5 is the denominator. That's how many groups that 20 is going to be divided into. So what we will do is take these counters and we'll keep dividing these until we hit the number 20 according to each different group. Okay, and I'll continue to slide these over until I would hit the number 20. So right now I have 5, okay, and then I'll keep going until I hit the number 20. Okay, now that we've distributed a counter per group, okay, how many counters are in each group? And we can see that 4 counters are in each group. Now, once again, how did I determine that there were 5 total groups? I looked at the denominator. That's how many total groups I was going to divide my 20 into. Okay, so we're going to divide those into just the 5 equal groups there. I did not write that down. Okay, now we could see that each group represents what of the stamps. Okay, so we know that there's 5 equal groups, so each group, for example, this group right here, that actually represents 1/5. Okay, 1 out of the 5 groups there, or 1/5 of the stamps. You can see 5 different groups and 1 out of those 5. So knowing that this group represented 1/5, okay, since we are trying to find 4/5 of 20, what we would do is we could actually circle 4 of the groups. So 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. Go over that again. 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 actually equals 4/5. Okay, now how many total groups did we circle? We circled 4. Now, of those groups, how many counters did we circle? Okay, there's 4 per group, so we have 4, 8, 12, 16. So you can see that we circled 16 total counters. Okay, so we have 4/5 of 20. Now we can see with our own eyes, very concrete, we can see that 4/5 of 20 does equal 16. Okay, now also 4/5 times 20 does equal 16 as well. Okay, so determining or going through these different steps, we can determine the answer to the question, how many of the stamps in Maya's collection have been canceled? Since 4/5 of the 20 have been canceled, we know that 16 of the stamps have been canceled. Okay, so here's another question. How many groups would you circle if 3/5 of the stamps were canceled? Pretty simple there. We would just, instead of doing the 4, we would just circle 3. So we would not circle this final one. Okay, so we can even see that 3/5 of 20 actually would be 12. Okay, since we circled 3 out of the 5 different groups. Okay, let's turn to page 292 and we'll complete this problem together. Let's take a look at this problem. It says Max's stamp collection has stamps from different countries. he has 12 stamps from Canada. Of those 12, 2/3 of them have pictures of Queen Elizabeth II. How many stamps have the Queen on them? Okay, and I want you to do this along with me. What we will need to do first is draw an X for each stamp. So we're going to draw 12 X's. Why are we drawing 12 X's? Because there are 12 stamps. Okay, now that we know we're drawing 12 X's, we need to figure out how we are going to arrange them. Now, since we want to find 2/3 of the stamps, okay, our array, what we need to do, should show 3 rows of equal sides. Why 3? Because the denominator is 3. Okay, if it were, 2/5, we would draw 5 rows. If it was 2/10, we would draw 10 rows. Okay. However, 2/3, we're going to show or have 3 rows of equal sides. So with 12 here, so 1, 2, 3 in each row. Okay, 4, 5, 6. We'll keep distributing X's until we get to 12. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now that we have our rows drawn out, okay, 12 stamps represented by X's, we know that there's 3 separate rows here. 1, 2, 3. So this really means 1/3 is right here, 2/3, 3/3. Okay, so it's important to know that. Now, what we need to do, we need to figure out how many rows we need to circle. Now, we need to circle 2 rows. Why 2 rows? Because 2/3 of the stamps have Queen Elizabeth II on it. Okay, so we will draw a circle around 2 rows. There's 1 row, and then there's my 2nd row. All right, now that does not answer the problem yet, or the question. What we need to do now is count how many X's are inside these 2 rows. So we can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we can see right there on page 292, there are 8 X's circled. So now we need to complete that number sentence. 2/3 of 12 equals, we can see 8 very easily there. 2/3 of 12 equals 8, or we know that 2/3, we're to take 2/3 and multiply that by 12. That's going to equal 8 as well. Okay, so the final answer, so there are 8 stamps with a picture of Queen Elizabeth II. So let's write that down on page 292. Okay, so let's take a look at this problem on page 292 at the very bottom. And it says Susan has 16 stamps in her collection. 3/4 of the stamps are from the United States. How many of her stamps are from the United States and how many are not? Okay, now the first thing that we need to do is we need to think about how many stamps, 16, and 3/4 of the stamps are from the United States. So what we need to do is look at that denominator. That's going to tell us how we're going to divide up our rows. We have 4 as our denominator, so because of that, we need to show 4 rows of equal sides until we get to 16. Okay, so we need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 total stamps and 4 equal rows. Okay, so now what we need to figure out is, first of all, they are asking us how many of her stamps are from the United States and how many are not. So we know in her collection, 3/4 of the stamps are from the United States. Okay, so what we can do is let's use a different color of ink to represent these 3/4. So 3/4 of them are from the United States. So each row actually represents 1/4. Okay, because we have 4 equal rows equaling a total of 16. So I have 1 row circled, that's 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. representing the stamps from the United States. Okay, now that I've circled 3/4, I now need to count the X's within these 3/4. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we know that 12 of Susan's stamps are from the United States. And how many are not? What we need to do is just look at the row that is not circled and count those X's. And we can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 X's that are not circled. So we can see that 12 are from the United States and 4 stamps are not from the United States. Okay, what I want you to do right now is turn to page 293, complete number 1 on page 293. When you're finished with that, you can press play and I'll have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, your answer should be 14. This is what your answer will look like. Okay, so this will equal 14. Couple questions that you needed to answer. How many rows of counters are there? 8. Why are there 8 rows? Because that's the denominator in 7/8. How many counters in each row? 2 counters in each row. We circled 7 rows to solve the problem. Why 7? Is because the numerator is 7. Okay, representing 7 out of the 8 groups circled. Okay, so 7/8 of 16 equals 14, or 7/8 times 16 equals 14. Now I want you to draw a model on page 293, number 2. Complete that problem. 2/3 times 18. Okay, think about the denominator, the numerator. I'm sorry, 2/3 times 6, not 18. 2/3 times 6, which is to draw a model representing that, and then I'll have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, this is what your model should have looked like, whether it was X's or stars or circles or whatever you used. 2/3 of the circles were circled, okay, or the counters were circled. So 2/3 times 6 does give me 4. Okay, I do want you to do these problems on my screen, right in your math book. It's actually numbers 5, 8, and 10 in your math book. And work these problems out. You do need to use a model to solve it. And when you finish, you can press play and I'll have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, you should have the answer 15, 6, and 14. Okay, I do want you to work this final problem out right at your seat. And when you finish this problem, you can press play and I'll have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, the answer for this problem is 12 stamps. So check your answer. If you did not get it correct, you may need to rewind the video and work through some of the examples that we did over again. Okay, so let's take a look at the essential question. How can you find a fractional part of a group? And what you can do, you can use the denominator to find how many equal groups to make from the whole number. Then you can use the numerator to find how many equal groups to count. And then finally you count the number of items in those groups. So that concludes the video on find part of a group. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.